can I do for you, Louis?
Gibbs knows what I did.
What?
She knows I got Sheila out of the country. She was waiting for me this morning, and she threatened to bring charges against me.
Did you admit that to her?
No.
Then she's not gonna charge you with anything.
See what I just said? She knows I went to Sheila's place the same night she went to Argentina.
And what does that prove?
It proves that I knowingly bought a witness a ticket out of the country in the middle of an ongoing investigation.
All it proves is you rewarded a Harvard employee who's been steering lawyers towards this firm for the last 10 years.
Okay, Jessica, Gibbs can easily go down to Argentina and ask...
Louis, listen to yourself. She's not going to do that. And even if she did, it's not witness tampering if a subpoena was never issued.
And Gibbs is gonna say that I had knowledge of an impending subpoena, therefore it is tampering.
You know what, Louis? I don't give a shit what Gibbs says.
Where are you going?
Give that woman a taste of her own goddamn medicine.
Gina, you look wonderful.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you
Look,
very much.
different from the Jessica that we know from the show, but beautiful nonetheless.
Little more relaxed. Yes.
There's so much law in this show. Like a surprising amount of actual legal terms and law in the show. Mm-hmm. I'm actually kind of curious, how much do you actually know or research or sort of care to know the meaning behind it?
Not much.
I appreciate the honesty.
Quite frankly, that clip was very insightful. It was lovely. It's like, oh God, I got all that out. I mean, that's really sort of my main concern.
Right.
Is that, am I gonna get it out? Is it gonna sound believable? And I do understand it at the time, but it's kind of like algebra. Well, it's like trig, actually. Like I got through it, but I don't remember any of it.
Well, you're doing so many, on a TV show, you're doing so many scenes in a day, you have to kind of go in one ear, out the other. I understand it in this moment. You know, I'm not going to know 2 days later from now what that was about.
No.
Not you guys have
But I was convincing. I convinced myself. I thought, oh, wow, she's got an answer for everything.
Oh, absolutely.
She's awesome.
You play an amazing boss. Did you model that off of any bosses that you ever had, or anybody that you ever saw sort of running a set or anything like that?
No, you know, she was written that way. She was very sure. She had come through her own fire and her own series of events that led her to where she is, you know, at the Pearson, as in Pearson Spector. God, we've had so many names. God, that wall has changed so many times. But yes, it's Pearson Spector lit right now. And I think my main concern was knowing that to be a good leader, people have to respect you. It's not just fear, it's really mostly respect. I mean, they want to be able to trust you and know that you're going to be able to get them through it. And so that's always present in my mind.
Absolutely, judgment as well. Trust your judgment as a leader. If you're going to come to someone with a problem, you're going to hope that their taste and their judgments are going to guide you, as you said, in the right direction.
Yeah.
What's interesting about her as a leader, I mean, as a for lack of a better term, I think a lady boss on television, is that we see her in multidimensional ways. We see her as a leader. We see her as a funny person. We see her as a warm person. So often in television, I feel like the lady boss is cast as like conniving or manipulative or something that is somewhat like like an old school femme fatale almost, right, where they had to have conned their way to get to the top rather
right.
than work, like your character. Was that something that you noticed or responded to in playing this character?
I think as she developed, what I brought to her, what Aaron Korsh and our wonderful writers continue to build and bring out in her is that. I mean, she really is, she's the queen bee. She is, you know, she's Big Mama in the firm, and like, you know, a good mom, she has to know who her children are, and she has to know what they respond to and how to love them best. And, you know, Louis is my problem child. He needs a lot of attention, but you can't always give it to him.
Well, problem children, as a problem child myself, like, we love attention, and what we love even more without realizing it is when you deny us attention.
Well, exactly. And
we fall into line right away.
Yes. It's like, what do? I got to get Mama to love me again. What do I have to do? But I mean, I think that's pretty much the thrust of her character. That's what's interesting about her character. She's really quite agile. She's not just agile in a business sense, but she's quite savvy in relationships. And some people might call that manipulative. I don't.
I don't think so.
I just think she's smart. I think she knows what her job is. She knows that she's dealing with a great many complicated people, and she has to know how to best rein them in, and when she needs to rein them in, and let them fly.
Now, you talk about her so much as she, and I'm sure she is another character, but you're now 5 seasons into the show, and so often with television, writers are they're writing so much content that they end up in many ways basing some of the stories or some of the sort of character motifs on the actors who are playing them because they get to know the actors. Have you found any of yourself come out in this character? The writers bring something back to you and you're like, oh, they know that I can play that.
I think in season 5, they absolutely start writing to your strong suits. And it's at this stage in the game, they hear my voice in their heads, and you know, it's happened before, and it happens on Suits, where, you know, let's say in season 3 I delivered some, you know, deadpan one-liner, and it blew up, you know, on social media, or people loved it, or they loved it, and like we didn't know, and so the next season there seems to be like that moment.
Every episode
That
has
line.
a
There's
deadpan
like one line that's Gina's gonna deliver this. Gina's gonna deliver this. And sometimes it works, and sometimes I go, I see what you're doing. It's gotta grow out of something. And it does. And they'll let me ad lib, and sometimes that makes more sense.
Have you noticed them that they're writing for you a little bit more? Outside of just a one-liner here and there?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think it's a big cast. Mm-hmm. There are 6 of us. They do such an amazing job of packing it in. I mean, you sort of get into everybody's life a little bit. And certainly last season and this season, we got a little bit more personal with Jessica, which was nice.
You think that they hadn't been too personal with her before that?
Oh, absolutely not.
Where do you think it came from?
No. You rarely saw me outside of the office until season 4.
When they do something like that, do the writers alert you that they're thinking about this direction for your character, or do you just kind of start getting scripts and you say, "Oh, I'm not in the office in this episode"?
It's a combination of all of those things. It's really what's best of the show, where we are in the show, what will this relationship or revealing this part of Jessica now add to the greater picture. But there was a point during season 3 where I said, so does Jessica live somewhere? Because we've never seen her place. We've seen everybody else's place. And, you know, they're like, oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, does she plug herself into a pod in that door, you know, that's just off of that no one goes through? And so a whole storyline was kind of born, and we got to see, I have a great spot.
What did you say?
Great
You
place,
said that they'll write to your strong suit. I'm curious if you're able to sort of pinpoint your own strong suits as an actress, or I know most actors and actresses are always thinking of the next challenge or how they can challenge themselves. So are they ever really focusing on what you would consider? Do actors focus on what they would consider their own strong suits? Do you know yours?
I have no idea what my strong suits would be, other than walking down a hallway authoritatively. And I do that a lot on the show. I walk into doors
How did you master
with
that?
great purpose. Practice.
Practice?
Practice, yes. Especially as an actor, you have to walk through a lot of doors.
They're like, Gina,
Yeah,
if we're going to
be
give you
convincing.
this role, you're going to have to master the walk.
The walk.
Authoritative, powerful walk.
That's right. I think I have. That's hard to do in 5-inch stilettos.
Oh, that is true. I think a lot of
Yes.
people on the show have. When I watch the show, there's a lot of authoritative walk and talk.
Yes, there is. There has to be.
I wonder if lawyers watch the show and say, they got it.
I hope so.
We're walking all the time.
The lawyers watch our show and say, why am I not that lawyer? What happened? Yes. A friend of mine whose girlfriend was in law school said, she loves the show. My girlfriend said, she loves the show. She loves the show. It's amazing. And she loves Jessica Pearson because Jessica wears color. And when I'm going to wear color. I thought, wow, because, you know, lawyers have that very definite uniform.
Gray.
Gray, black, navy, brown. And Jessica wears whatever the hell she wants to.
That's like one of those things you can, I mean, all lawyers or cops that you talk to about law or cop shows, their first thought is always, it's never that sexy. It's never that sexy.
Never. No.
You are behind a desk shuffling papers for the most part and complaining about the coffee that morning.
Exactly. There's a lot of paperwork, and nothing gets resolved in the time that we resolve it.
Now, another show that you were a part of that I loved as well, we were talking about a little bit backstage, is Hannibal. You had a few episodes of this show. I think Hannibal is one of those short-lived shows that's going to have a long time following and sort of cult recognition because it was gory as hell.
Yes.
Can you talk about working on that show? And did you ever have a feeling while you were on it, like, how are we getting away with this?
It was, well, the thing about it is it was gory and gorgeous.
Yes. Tastefully gory.
It was tastefully, it was elegant horror, as my husband likes to say.
Right, there's a man whose body has been turned into a cello.
Yeah, well, right, and beautifully so.
Yeah, impeccably designed.
Just, the detail involved, or the people with the mushrooms, and I can go on and on. I think what was most disturbing, and I just had a conversation about this, what was most disturbing as I watched it was the fact that it was so beautifully done that you are seduced by it. And so you find yourself not being as horrified as you might be, and thereby being in Hannibal's brain. It's almost like you're visiting his brain and how he sees all this carnage. And to sort of be home alone at night with that, it doesn't sit well.
A shockingly scary show for a network TV show as well. Even cable. I mean, can't think of any other network, cable or not, that's been able to produce a TV series that was as regularly creepy as Hannibal. And the other thing that was kind of mind-blowing about it was after the first season, you sort of lost the whodunit per episode, and it just became totally obsessed with, as you said, what was going on in the mind of these two characters and how it overlapped into every episode, which was, I could imagine, such a force to fight for the creators of that show to hold on to that.
Absolutely, absolutely. But they knew what they were doing. Brian Fuller, talk about taking a trip through someone's mind, right? Amazing, just genius. And he made it so that you couldn't look away. He made it so that you wanted to watch and you wanted to see it to its end, its natural end.
Absolutely. Did you have a favorite death scene? A favorite death from Hannibal?
Mine. My own. Yeah, that was hard.
What was so hard about it?
Well, it's hard to die on screen. There's a breathing thing.
I'm so glad you said that, because that is something that I think about all the time, and I immediately forget that I was thinking about it while I'm watching movies. I'm like, that's an actor, and they're laying on that table, or they're laying on the ground there, and they're in the background. How are they not just breathing?
Yeah, that's one aspect of it. And then, I almost died on in Hannibal's office, and that was tricky because I was slumped over. And so when you're slumped over and you've been crying and there are things coming, I'm like, oh God, there's just this, it's like a faucet. It's going. And I know Mads is coming in. I know he's coming in and he doesn't deserve all of this. So you're trying to be sort of discreet and suck it all up while he's over there and maybe the camera's not on you and you're hoping that they're editing it correctly. But the trickiest part, once I was dead, and on the slab, they did this beautiful sequence where they were making me up and preparing me for my funeral. And you can't breathe, and my eyes are closed. And my makeup artist, the woman who actually did my makeup, is doing my makeup on the thing. Now you don't see her coming, so you can't flinch when the brush hits you. You can't flinch when you just have to sort of breathe, and that has got to, but where's my Emmy for that?
makes me laugh so hard for
I
some
mean,
reason. I can
you don't
imagine-
think about this, and you're really not supposed to. You're just supposed to get caught up in the story, but it's not
Imagine
easy.
The close-up where like the hand comes into frame and you keep going, huh, huh, like
I was very good. I was very good. That did not happen. I did not flinch. Not once.
Well, back to Suits. We only have a few episodes left of the 5th season, right?
Mm-hmm.
What can we expect in the upcoming episodes tomorrow night and in coming weeks?
Chaos.
Complete chaos.
Complete and
Chaos
utter
reigns in Suits.
chaos. Yes. There's oh dear. I'm just gonna have to tell you to watch. I mean, because I can't really pinpoint anything. It's. I mean, it's all up for grabs.
Absolutely. I think we have some time for audience questions. I see a young one with a mic in her hand in the front row.
Hello,
Hi.
Deja Farah. How are you? As an artist, we have a tendency to lean more toward the creative and being aspect of our art. But there's also a business part of it. So with your many years of experience in the industry, what's something you've learned over the years when it comes to acting as a business that you wish you would have known earlier on, or something that you just find useful now?
The most important thing is to do what you love to do. That really is, that's the thing that sustains you throughout all of it. I mean, I've been blessed enough now to live with this character for 5 seasons. We're going into a 6th season. I love her. I'm so pleased that I've gotten to be in her shoes for 6 seasons. And so when you pick things, and don't think that you can't pick things, because you always have a choice. You always have the power to say no. Because we're always afraid we're not going to work as artists, so maybe I should take this and maybe I should take this now. You got to think, am I going to be happy doing this in 5 years? Am I going to be happy doing this in 3 years? And I would just say go with your gut and do what you love at all time, because that will serve you best.
Would you also say, on a more practical side, I think when it comes to interviews and when it comes to talk about acting, we talk about the craft a lot, and we talk about getting into character and finding your place, whereas in the business aspect of it, a lot of the time is you got to shoot, and you got to move fast, and like you don't really have that much time to focus heavily on your craft because you got lighting and you got to go, and the director's waiting for you, and 60% of your job is to deliver for him in the time frame that, or her, in the time frame that director needs.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you got to do your homework. Do your homework. Do it at home. Come prepared, and always leave space. I always say, always leave space for magic. Always leave space for what the other person is bringing. But you have to come prepared. I mean, that's just practical. That's just good manners and good sense.
Have you ever seen a situation where an actor didn't come prepared, or maybe you yourself, you thought you were prepared, but you weren't prepared enough and something got in your way while you were shooting?
All the time. Stuff happens all the time. I mean, it is a creative industry. There are things that are beyond your control. I showed up on set one day, not this one, not Suits, but I showed up for a job. I was guest starring, and the writers changed the scene overnight. And I show up to work prepared with the scene I had. And we're rehearsing. We're on the set and we're rehearsing, and suddenly nothing's making sense. And they go, "Oh, did you get the changes for it's for this scene?" I said, "No," because they literally came in at 2 a.m. Oh my God. They had been writing, they were delivered to the house. They don't knock at 2 a.m. because you're asleep. Yeah, you're asleep. And I certainly wasn't expecting it, but they was like, okay, it's great. You do it long enough, you realize, you take a breath, you hone in, you focus, you rehearse, and then while you're in the makeup chair or while you're getting dressed, you make it happen, and then you go and you do your job.
You find the time.
You find the time, yeah. You have to find the time. And there, all the legalese that we do, sometimes it just doesn't come out right. It doesn't go in right, and it doesn't come out right. So that takes time, and there's all kinds of, there's understanding behind things like that. But if you just thought you were going to come in and kind of wing it, and you make everybody else's day long, then that's not cool.
Yeah. Next question.
Hey, Gina. First, I'd like to say I've been a fan of yours for 19 years. Yeah.
Damn you. You mean 9, right? Thank you. Okay, the proper response is thank you.
I like to.
Sort of.
Sort of, yes.
Thank you.
I like to say Suits is one of the few shows on TV that there's not 1, 2, or even 3 people that shine. You all shine.
I agree.
And
yeah.
because of that, I like to voice my disgust to the Emmys because you all should be Emmy Award winners.
Aw, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I don't know how to phrase that into the form of a question for you,
I know,
so I'm going to move on to the next
exactly.
question.
Yes.
Next question.
Hello, big fan of the show. Probably gonna put you on the spot here, but Louis Lit has a catchphrase. "You just got lit up." I was wondering what would your catchphrase be?
I don't think Jessica has a catchphrase. She says "goddamn" a lot. And every time I say it, I like, in my head, I'm just, doing that. She doesn't have a catchphrase. I have no idea. What would, you pick one. What would Jessica's catchphrase be?
Can we get that, please? You got pierced, son?
We'll work on that.
I think we have time for one more question.
Hi, Gina.
Hi.
I have been a fan of yours as far back as Firefly. And
you.
that actually brings the question to mind. You've worked with some of the biggest creators out there at this point. You had Joss Whedon, you had Brian Fuller, you've got this team here. Does it inspire you to maybe go into maybe trying to create something of your own? Or do you prefer to just let them do it and you just do what you're good at?
You know what? Yes, they are absolutely inspirational. And I don't pretend that I have a lick of the genius that those guys have. But I will say that I do believe and I know that there are a lot of stories out there that need to be told. And if I could be a part of doing that and getting them out there, I look forward to doing that for sure.
Well, Gina, thank you so much for being here. Suits is on tomorrow night.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Congratulations
you.
on 5 great seasons. Thank you.
Thank you.